Okay, so here we are, Sue Winsbury here, and today I am delighted to be talking to the lovely Janie Perry. Janie is a naturopathic nutritionist, and Janie and I have worked alongside each other for about 7 years now, I think. So I first met Janie when I was doing my Crisis Effects practitioner training. I think Janie had trained before me, so we both specialise in working with people with chronic fatigue, ME, fibromyalgia, alongside doing other elements of our own work as well. So we kind of work in a really good referral team, so we share our clients out between us because we know that we don't have the solutions for everybody. So welcome, Janie. It's going to be really nice just chatting to you and sharing a bit more about you. So tell me, first of all, what is your big passion?
So I've been doing the naturopathic nutritional work for, I've been qualified about 10 years now. So I've been working in clinical practice for that time. And over time, I think my passion has really come to be helping people identify their underlying causes from that physical angle that I'm working on with the nutrition. Often how I see it is when people get certainly into the chronic exhaustive conditions that we specialise in, Sue, often how I see it is there's been kind of almost a load on the body, as I often describe it to clients. So that may have been things that have happened in childhood, for example. That could be heavy metals that come in from the environment or other sources. There could have been viruses, there could have been parasites from travels. Sometimes vaccinations might have an impact on people, poor diet, stress, etc., car crash, something else, and often the body is then out of balance and not working well. So nutrition really helps to support people, and that's often the foundation where we want to start, get people eating a healthy diet. But really, if often that's not enough, people come to me and they've tried many diets and they're still not getting the results and not getting the improvement that they want. Yes, that make a subtle improvement, but if we haven't cleared what that load on the body and we haven't kind of got to the bottom of the pile, then that body's not going to be able to bounce back. So that's my real passion, and often we're needing to identify those causes. So sometimes testing is needed. That's where I might use functional testing or other local clinical testing to do that. We need to clear out those toxicity and support the body nutritionally to through foods, through supplements, through natural remedies, to really help it to rebuild with those raw ingredients from the healthy foods, from the supplements, etc. So that's my real passion, Sue, and that's certainly, as I've been working with clients, by addressing the underlying cause, you're getting that long-term solution. We're not looking at a quick fix. This is a thorough approach, and it does take time. But I'm seeing over the years, I'm seeing, the great results that this brings.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that people do know that recovery from these conditions is totally possible. And we both know many people who've had severely debilitating symptoms. I mean, being bedridden for months, years, and who are now living the most amazing lives. And I know you've got personal experience as well. So it is a fallacy that people cannot recover from these type of conditions and many other conditions as well. It's just taking that right approach, isn't it?
Completely, yes. I've got an example actually, Sue. I've got a lovely case study example there, as you said, about really debilitating conditions. I had a lady come to me. She'd been ill for about 3 or 4 years. She's in her 50s. She'd been a school teacher and head teacher through her career. So she'd had a pretty busy life. She described her life as very busy and active and full before she got ill. And so when she came to me, she'd been bedbound for a couple of months. She was housebound when I started working with her, and she was going out in a wheelchair. So that's how severe the ME and chronic fatigue had got for her. So she'd been forced to quit her job. Her life was, basically at home and very limited. So I did some tests with her, and there was a lot of digestive issues for her. So we started off with testing out a stool test, checking out what was going on in her gut. So there's a lot of imbalances, a lot of stuff going on in her gut. So we worked on that. We call it a kind of a 5R program to help to clear what's not meant to be there. So 5 R's is remove, repair the damage that might have been caused from that, repopulate with the beneficial bacteria, and re-inoculate and re-educate the person around diet and lifestyle. So she was a really lucky case, actually. I would say one of the lucky ones that did have quite a smooth recovery. A couple of little dips. Often recovery can be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that happens. This lady was very lucky and progressed well. On over about an 8-month period, she got 75% improvement. So that was fantastic. And she went from being in a wheelchair to walking daily and building up her stamina again. So that was an amazing, an amazing lady to support through that process. Another lady, she was in her 40s. She'd been ill with chronic pain for about 10 years, and the fatigue added in that a few years later. So she'd been ill for quite a long time. She hadn't been able to work for quite a period of time. And again, there was a lot of gut issues there that we worked with. That's the physical angle. And over about a year, we got 86% improvement by doing a lot of the nutritional work, supporting her nutritionally, educating around healthy eating and what worked for her. And 86% improvement. Pain was pretty much gone. Life was back. That's just fantastic. So I'm so passionate about helping people through that journey. Yes, because I've come through my own experience, but seeing people and having these testimonials to share with others is really helpful as well.
Fantastic work. It's just amazing work to be doing when you can get results like that. And I think we all take the perspective that your health it's a multifaceted. We take a very holistic approach, and for me it's the mind, body, and the soul. They all work together, because it's never just one thing. It's always the integration of all of them, because they all go hand in hand. You can't separate them from anything. They're just all together.
Yes, no, let me add into that, Sue. So that was my contribution to those 2 examples. While they're working alongside me, they've done a lot of work on the emotional side as well.
Yeah.
It's going to add that in. So certainly I'm obviously focused on the physical side. I'm looking for those emotional traumas or emotional stressors that need to be worked on, and that's where I refer out to specialists like yourself, Sue, and others in our Chrysalis Effect team to do that real deep work on the emotional level. Sometimes I get people who come and they start on the physical, because that's where they're comfortable to work, and we get them a little bit stronger, and then they're ready to sort of start on the emotional exploring a little bit more, as sometimes we call it. So yes, thank you for adding that one in.
No, it's all part of how it is. So You've mentioned what I call the D word a couple of times. So some people, when they hear the word diet, will kind of put what I would the weight loss connection with diet, whereas diet is so much bigger than that, isn't it? And there are so many different approaches now to diet that I think it's probably more of a minefield than ever. I spent all my teenage 20s, 30s, dare I say it, doing all kinds of diets, but I've learned to eat for the way that my body feels happy. But I think, what is your advice around food and diet?
Yes, good question, Sue. So there is I never see that there's one diet that suits everybody. That, you know, there's different diets out there sort of trending at the moment, ketogenic diets, the paleo diet, etc. And I think they kind of come in and out of fashion slightly. My approach is very much about education. What are the healthy foods? What are the foods that perhaps we need to kind of try to let go of a little bit, but aiming to focus on the foods that we really want to eat that are going to nourish the body. So looking at the key macronutrients, the healthy sources of fats, protein, and healthy sources of carbohydrate, which is obviously your fruits and vegetables. So that's based on more of an alkalizing diet. I suppose if we want to call it anything, focusing on more alkaline foods and supporting the blood sugar balance, which is so key to energy balance. So that's often the sort of first step that I take in terms of educating people around healthy eating, helping people to listen to their body, as you mentioned there. So I think that's really, really key. It's not one diet that suits you or suits me and is going to suit the next person. Everybody's body is different. Their needs are different. So, and that food, the raw ingredients, we've got to see that food as your fuel. It's the building blocks for every single cell in the body. So if there's been poor diet for many years, it may take a little bit of time before you see the results of adding in those healthier foods. Often, so my passion is really about trying to educate people through that, so they've got that tool for life. It's not a fad diet they follow for 6 weeks and then they fall off and go back to what they're doing, because that's not going to help anyone. This is a long-term chronic illness, is looking at the long-term picture and aiming to bring in that healthy eating for life. So and obviously supporting that through some supplementation where necessary, perhaps other natural remedies that we may use, and obviously lifestyle changes, and hugely needed is looking into the emotional area as well. Yeah, does that answer your question, Sue?
It does, and hopefully it will answer questions for other people as well, because you know, I think sometimes we can feel a lot of pressure that we should be eating in a certain way because it is the trendy way to be eating, and actually it might not work for your body. And I know with the rise in veganism, which is fantastic, but for some people's physical bodies it just does not work. Doesn't suit their physical body.
Yeah, completely. No, it depends on that person. I know I was vegetarian for 10 years through my 20s. It probably wasn't the healthiest. That's before I became a nutritional therapist. And it just didn't suit my body, and that kind of led to, you know, it contributed to some of the deterioration and probably why I got chronically ill in my early 30s. So it didn't suit me. I certainly educate around eating more vegetable proteins. That's a really, really healthy source, and certainly something that's in my diet a lot of the time. But for some, it's just not quite enough. So again, that's finding what works for you, with that balance of sustainability, obviously, as well. What's available locally, looking at organic foods where we can. Again, that helps to reduce that toxic load on the body. From pesticides, etc., that are added on to some of the farming techniques, etc. So certainly it's that listening to the body. So the basics of writing down what you're eating and your reactions to that is a really simple place for people to start. So basic food diary, and that can just literally be, you do yourself a spreadsheet or you just write it in a book, and what sort of response to that. How's your energy been through the day? How's your brain function? Are you hungry within an hour of eating? These are kind of some of the things that I'm looking for. Ideally, I want people to be starting with breakfast, being able to go all the way through till lunch without kind of dipping with energy and without needing coffee or snacks to keep going. Get into lunch and being able to choose a healthy lunch and not be craving sugar. And then, you know, being able to kind of go for it. Ideally about 4 or 5 hours between meals.
I have a big question there. Does that also apply to 20-year-old young men? Because that doesn't seem to work in my house.
Maybe not. Again, it's looking at the person, what works for them to do. So someone who may have a really high physical, if the guy's particularly active, if your boy's particularly active, or high, high demand jobs, if they're out there physically active through work, then often your snacks are then needed, or bigger portions. Having that space in between meals allows the digestion to complete that digestive process and almost prepares it for the next one. Again, that's completely individual, Sue. So start them off on food diary and see how they get on.
I've already got one who's gluten-free, dairy-free. So we have a lot of dietary considerations. And again, it took us, his fatigue was becoming more and more and more of an issue. Started at A levels. There were lots of contributing factors, but we had to kind of do some research and some testing to find out that coffee doesn't agree with him, caffeine, so he's got caffeine intolerance. Dairy's not great. Definitely gluten has a big impact. So we're very aware of just how much some things can literally affect your energy so easily.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think some of the younger generations do seem to be almost kind of born with more intolerances. I don't specialise in children work. I do see some children, but there's a lot more intolerances around from a much younger age now. And certainly, it sounds like that stress then kind of almost triggered some more intolerances in your son, Sue. So that's become more and more common, certainly in the clients that I see for other work, sort of basic digestive work that I would do away from sort of the chronic illness. So yes.
And from my personal perspective, that's another reason to go organic as much as we can, because I suspect that there's some, and I have no medical research, no scientific research, this is just my instinct, is that the amount of chemicals that are sprayed onto foods must be creating intolerances within because our systems are very delicate, aren't they? Our bodies are a beautifully fine-tuned work of art, but it doesn't take a lot to kind of tip it out of balance sometimes.
Yeah, completely. And I think the interesting what you said there, Sue, about the kind of additives into that. If we think about the process of wheat growing, for example, that's massively changed over the last sort of 50 years, really, in terms of it's grown much quicker and in more utilised soils, so the nutrients aren't quite as optimum. And the baking process has changed and speeded up so much. So I know I've had clients say to me that they've been on holiday to France and they've been able to eat the fresh French baguettes that they make every day. Perhaps they're I haven't looked into research of that. This has just been an interesting one while we're talking about it. But perhaps their growing and baking techniques are very different to those in the UK, maybe. It's the quality of the bread and the flour used. Completely. We need to do what we can to support the next generation coming up.
Absolutely.
Minimise these chronic exhaustive conditions.
And I think, the way that the world has been, the way that the working world has been, there's been so much pressure on people. And now we are in this reset phase. I'm hoping that a lot of people will realise that actually life doesn't have to be quite so pressured. But I think there are other stresses and strains that will, I think when we come out of the other side of this, there will be a lot of people that are finding physical symptoms in their body, such as fatigue or brain fog or all of these things that stress can so easily create. So I think there's going to be a lot more work for you.
Potentially, yes. No, well, certainly concerning times at the moment, Sue, and wishing everyone listening well and keep safe through these worrying times. I'll just finish off to sort of say today that if anyone that is any of these chronic exhaustive conditions, the ME, the chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, then we offer a half an hour chat to anyone, a free half an hour chat to ask them more questions to see who's best for them to work with in the team. As we've mentioned, these are multifaceted conditions and they need a multifaceted approach. Excuse me. And that's where the team approach really works with these conditions. So we offer a free half an hour chat for the chronic exhaustive conditions. For anyone looking for initial consultations with me, I'm offering a discounted rate to the end of May. So if there's anyone you know, please share that with them. My usual price is £125 for an initial consultation, which is a really thorough consultation, gathering lots of information, past tests, the whole medical history, what's going on with them symptom-wise, review of all their systems in the body, and then I build up a plan at that stage for the individual person. So it's a very bespoke service for people. So it's usually 125, so I'll be offering it for 95 for appointments booked up until the end of May.
So what a wonderful offer. And I do know Janie is very, very detailed, so she will be incredibly thorough. I've referred some of my clients to Janie. You know, as you say, we work very much as a team, and the beauty of the way that we work is that it's always been online. So yeah, we can just carry on doing our thing.
Yeah, I've been doing this online about 7 or 8 years, I think. Online consultations around the country, around the world. I've got clients in Spain. I've had clients in France. Certainly we can almost carry on as normal in our work, at least. I know life-wise things are very different at the moment, aren't they? So lovely to chat to you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. It's been really, really good. And any questions, you can just pop them into the box or message me, and I'll put Janie's website under so that you can contact Janie as well.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lou. Take care. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.